One of the challenges of a designer is how to create or evoke emotions through very simple elements. In the first practice, we looked at how the foundation of design really is created from point, line, and plane. And now the next question is, how do we take those points, lines, and plane and evoke some kind of emotion on the page? And the way we're going to start looking at that is through symmetry and asymmetry, and to see the different kinds of symmetry and asymmetry that you can have on the page. You're probably all familiar with the concept of symmetry, which is the equal distribution of the visual weight on the page, meaning that in general the page is split in half. So this could be on the x-axis or the y-axis or diagonally going across. But actually there's a little bit more to it than that. Here's an example of seeing reflective symmetry, which you often see in photographs. And another example where symmetry is created by splitting the horizon in half. So symmetry can be incredibly passive. So it can evoke an emotion of calm. And this is an example when you have one symmetrical object placed symmetrically inside of another symmetrical object, so the visual weight around is completely calm or passive. But in this example, we have symmetry. The symmetry is being created on the diagonal axis, but yet the space in between is less passive. We have a difference of space that's going on over on the side versus inside here. So there's a small amount of tension. So symmetry with passive and less passive space. We're going to call this the foreground, and this is the background. You can also have symmetry that is created through a pattern, and the result is also that the background space is less passive. As you can see in this example, something really starts to happen in our background space. So it's not that exciting an image. It's simply circles on a square or rectangle, but through their patterning, we're seeing two images. One, the image of the black circles, which is our foreground, and we're starting to see this other image coming through created by the foreground. Here's another way that you can treat the passive space. This is an example of symmetry with a focal point. So again, it's a pattern. And notice how this image is completely different. What's happening here in the focal point and the space behind it versus the one where every single circle is exactly the same. So the question for you is, which one has more tension? An artist who used symmetry an awful lot in his images was M.C. Escher. He worked with the background and the foreground, negative and positive space to create symmetrical images. If you look in this image, you can see that both the background and the foreground, look at some other examples here, have images. Asymmetry, on the other hand, the complete opposite, creates tension in the image. There's no visual balance immediately seen as you see it through symmetry. This can be created in a photograph simply by moving the horizon to one extreme, higher or lower. But asymmetry can have visual balance. So this, imagine in contrast with a completely symmetrical image that would have less passive space. This one is asymmetrical because the two objects are not symmetrical to each other. But yet, because they are aligned on the diagonal axis, it does create visual balance. In this example, we have asymmetry with visual imbalance. We have an awful lot of background space versus our small objects, our symmetrical objects, which are placed at the bottom of the page, which creates asymmetry within the page. So this is just a little intro into the ideas of symmetry and asymmetry that should be supplemented with the reading. But the way I want you to think of this is about how to create tension or calm in your image.